marriage should have been sacred, yet my wife, Emma, shattered that illusion. Years of devotion meant nothing when secrets crept into our home. My name is Daniel, and this is the story of betrayal, heartbreak, and vengeance. Emma and I met in college. She had an intoxicating charm, a laugh that could melt glaciers, and eyes filled with unspoken promises. We built a life together, one filled with passion, late-night talks, and dreams of forever. But forever is a lie when deceit poisons love. For years, our marriage seemed perfect. I worked in finance, ensuring our future remained secure, while Emma thrived in marketing. Late nights at the office became routine for her, and I, the trusting fool, never questioned it. Until small changes whispered warnings, her phone always face down, hushed calls in the bathroom, the scent of unfamiliar cologne on her clothes. One evening, I decided to surprise her with dinner at her office. Carrying a bouquet, I walked in, only to see a sight that cracked my world apart. Her boss, Richard Carter, leaning too close, his hand resting possessively on her waist. My stomach twisted. I backed away unnoticed, swallowing the rage bubbling inside. That night, Emma acted normal, laughing, kissing, pretending. But I knew. Suspicion coiled around my mind, squeezing tighter with each passing day. So I did what any man in my position would do. I dug. I followed her one evening, watching as she checked into a hotel with Carter. Hours later, she emerged, disheveled, lips swollen from stolen kisses. The evidence was undeniable. My wife was sleeping with her boss. Yet, confronting her then would have been foolish. No, I needed to know why. I spent the next few weeks observing, pretending, waiting for her to slip. She stayed out later, claimed meetings that didn't exist, and started dressing in ways she never had before. Expensive lingerie, high heels, perfume I had never bought her. The woman I loved had transformed into a stranger. One night I tested her. "Emma, let's go away for the weekend," I suggested casually over dinner. She hesitated, lips pressing together. "This weekend?" "Yes. A little getaway. Just us." She twirled her fork in her pasta, avoiding my gaze. "I have a work event. It's mandatory." I nodded, pretending to understand, but inside, I was seething. That weekend, I followed her again. Same hotel, same man. Watching her smile at him the way she once smiled at me shattered something inside. That night, I sat in my car for hours, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. There was no mistaking it. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was an affair, an ongoing, deliberate betrayal. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. She kissed me before leaving for work, her lips tasting of deceit. But I had a plan now. She wouldn't see it coming. My patience bore fruit in the most gut-wrenching way possible. Weeks passed, my anger simmering beneath a mask of indifference. Then, one evening, Emma sat across from me, her hands trembling. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. Feigning ignorance, I nodded. "What is it?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm pregnant." A normal husband would have rejoiced. I, however, felt my insides twist into knots. "That's great news," I forced out, watching her reaction closely. She broke then, sobbing, face buried in trembling palms. "It's not yours, Daniel." Everything inside me froze. The woman I pledged my life to, the one I adored, had conceived another man's child. My jaw clenched as she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's Richard's." I remained silent, my heartbeat hammering like war drums. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whimpered. "I got caught up in the moment and then it spiraled. I was going to end it, but you didn't," I finished for her. My voice lacked emotion, though my mind screamed. She reached for my hand, but I withdrew. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I had to be honest," she pleaded. "Honest? Now? After months of deceit, my mind raced with possibilities, but one thing was clear. This wasn't going to end with a simple divorce. No, Emma and Richard had destroyed my life. Now it was my turn. I exhaled slowly, forcing a nod. I need time. Relief washed over her features. I understand. No, she didn't. That night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, mind spinning. Emma believed my silence meant contemplation. In reality, it meant calculation. The next morning, I took the day off, contacting a private investigator. If Richard thought he could take my wife, my home, and my dignity, he was mistaken. Days passed as the investigator uncovered more than expected. Richard wasn't just an adulterer, he was a criminal. Insider trading, embezzlement, tax fraud. His entire empire stood on a foundation of lies. One strong gust would send it crumbling. Meanwhile, I kept Emma comfortable, pretending to process my emotions. Each night, I touched her as if she were still mine, kissed her as if betrayal hadn't burned away my love. She had no idea every touch was a silent goodbye. One evening, she brought up Richard again. I told him about the baby, she admitted cautiously. I sipped my whiskey, masking my disdain. And he's unsure of what to do, she said hesitantly. I think he's scared. I chuckled darkly. Scared? Of what? Being a father? Of what this means for his career, his family, she murmured. Of course. The man who stole my wife, my life, feared consequences. Good. He hadn't even begun to feel them. Emma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it briefly, guilt flashing across her face before she set it down. Richard. You can answer it, I said smoothly. Her head snapped up, eyes searching mine. No, it's not important. I leaned back, smirking. Really? The father of your child doesn't warrant a response. She swallowed hard. Daniel, Relax, I interrupted, standing. I need another drink. As I poured another glass, my grip tightened around the bottle. Soon she'd know exactly how it felt to lose everything. The first domino was about to fall. Anger alone doesn't break a person. Cold, calculated revenge does. I began with Emma. Feigning heartbreak, I played the role of the devastated husband. I need time, I told her, but I'll try to make this work. She bought the lie, relieved. Meanwhile, I hired a private investigator to dig into Richard. What I found was a gold mine, embezzlement, insider trading, and an affair with another employee. A scandal waiting to erupt. My next move, setting the stage for destruction. Emma was naive enough to believe my forgiveness. She didn't question the sudden romantic gestures, flowers, expensive dinners, stolen kisses. She didn't see the storm brewing behind my eyes. One evening, I made my move. Let's celebrate, I suggested, presenting tickets for a luxury cruise. She beamed, unaware of the disaster ahead. Meanwhile, I anonymously leaked Richard's crimes to the board of directors. The reaction was swift. He was suspended pending investigation. The media caught wind, and his world crumbled overnight. As for Emma, I waited until we were miles away at sea before delivering my final blow. The ocean stretched infinitely around us, moonlight reflecting off the waves. Emma sipped her wine, blissfully unaware of what was coming. I know everything, I said suddenly. Her glass froze midair. What? The affair, the lies, the fact that you're carrying Richard's child. Color drained from her face. Daniel, Save it, I snapped. Do you know what's poetic? Richard is ruined, fired, investigated. His wife left him. And you, I smirked. You'll return to nothing. Her hands trembled. What do you mean? I sold our house, cleaned out our accounts. Every asset, gone. Tears welled in her eyes. You wouldn't. Oh, but I did, she gasped. Where will I go? What will I do? Not my problem, I said, standing. Enjoy your trip, Emma. It's your last taste of luxury. And with that, I left her there, broken, lost, and utterly destroyed. Emma stared at me, her breath shallow, her entire world collapsing in real time. She clutched the stem of her wine glass as if it could anchor her, but nothing could. Not now. You, you ruined me, she whispered, voice trembling. I took a slow sip of my drink, letting the bitterness coat my tongue. No, Emma, you ruined yourself the moment you betrayed me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. The woman who once held my heart sat before me, shattered, realizing there was no way out. But what about us? She choked out. You said we'd try to make it work. I let out a cold chuckle. You thought I'd raise his child? That I'd let you keep lying to my face while carrying the proof of your affair? Emma shook her head violently. I never wanted to hurt you. And yet you did. Repeatedly. I stood, adjusting my cuffs. You made your choices, Emma. Now you're just facing the consequences. Her fingers dug into the tablecloth. Daniel, please, I have nothing left. Good. I downed the rest of my drink, letting the burn fuel my satisfaction. Now you understand what you did to me. I turned and walked away, leaving her drowning in her regret. The moment I stepped onto the ship's deck, the night air filled my lungs, crisp and freeing. The weight I had carried for months lifted. Emma had made her bed, and now she would lie in it, alone. As the cruise ship sailed across the endless sea, I smiled to myself. My past was behind me. My future, mine to rebuild. Without her,